HTTP. Muchos de estos standards eran partnerships between IBM and a lot of the other larger vendors. But the way we do things now is actually muy diferente than the way we used to do things 15 years ago. Y la diferencia es que ahora los standards no solamente son de los vendors. The end users, la persona que usan los standards, los clientes, la gente de la universidad, are very active in the process. And this is very different. And I'm sorry I have to say this in English, but if you remember back to XML, everybody knows what XML is? Mm-hmm. What was the first XML standard? It was the use case while we were creating XML. Does anybody know what it was?
Wofer.
What?
El caso ¿para qué caso específico se usó?
El primer standard que usaba XML. And by the way, it was doing in parallel con XML. So XML was being created, and the first example of XML was also being created at the very same time. It was the use case. What was that use case? Do you guys remember? I co-chaired it. You don't know?
No, well, probably.
Come on. This poor kid from Puerto Rico is co-chairing it? The mathematical markup language.
Yeah.
¿De qué?
Los hipervínculos.
El lenguaje para encodar matemáticas, para hacer computaciones y para estudiar los estudiantes y eso. It's a great example of
¿Qué lenguaje?
¿Cuál? XML.
MathML.
Ah, MathML.
MathML.
MML, digamos.
MML, yes.
Ah,
MML,
sí.
yes.
No es XML.
Yo no entendí.
No, ahora te entiendo. No te estaba entendiendo que me hablaba.
But let's think about this for a second.
La matemática destruyó la máquina.
Es muy interesante, ¿verdad? Porque para mí especialmente porque mi background era en matemática, en computer science, es muy interesante. Pero no es un buen use case para XML.
Y nadie entiende nada.
Porque XML no se usa para eso. Se usa un poquito, pero se usa mucho para el comercio, transaction, a lot of different use cases.
Sí, sí.
So the problem, XML, when we created it, we were optimizing it for different use cases. The problem at that time was that we did not involve enough users, right? We learned now, 15 years later, that when we start a standard, the use
varios
hilos. Cannot be so narrow. We need to bring in people from
different silos,
other industries,
sí.
So to make sure that it actually scales and works for other applications. So,
claro.
Por ejemplo, en cloud, hay muchos standards para cloud. ¿No? Y one of the things that IBM and others helped create was something called a Cloud Standards Customer Council, which has 340 of our clients and other people's clients participating, driving use cases as to what are the standards you need for cloud. That's very good. That way the standards and open source activities, right, relate to what the clients want. So, por ejemplo, tienes a alguien en el council de una compañía se llama Kroger, their supermercado, supermarket. Es muy diferente cloud security para la gente que hace en supermarket que Boeing, and they create airplanes, right? But that discussion is very, very powerful. And that's something different. ¿Ustedes conocen Mercado Libre?
Sí.
Mercado Libre uses, this is like the eBay of Latin America. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
These guys are probably very frustrated because I'm going back and forth. But I can't wait to tell my mom that I actually got to speak Spanish. And she's at home right now. My mother, she's visiting from Puerto Rico.
Do you speak in Spanish with her?
Of course, but not about this.
Practice.
Con nuestros lectores, que son todos
Yo no
españoles.
pienso en español cuando hablo de tecnología, pienso en inglés.
Claro, tienes que traducir.
Y la traduces.
Y las palabras ni los conozco porque no hablo. O sea, database, base de datos.
No, pero si dices database se entiende. No, ahí la gente entiende. Las palabras específicas que estén en inglés la gente las entiende.
Claro.
So, el Mercado Libre, ellos usan una tecnología que se llama OpenStack, que es un open source cloud infrastructure as a service platform. That's and this is a very impressive implementation. And IBM is behind OpenStack. IBM is one of the 8 founding members of the new OpenStack Foundation, along with Rackspace and HP and others, right? This is a big, big deal. OpenStack is going to become the Apache HTTP of cloud. So the second
Es un
point-
desarrollo solo de Mercado Libre, eBay no tuvo nada que ver.
No, eBay no tuvo nada que ver con eso, lo usó Mercado Libre. Mercado Libre usaba tecnología OpenStack para su infrastructure, para los servers. Para
No, porque como
virtualization.
Mercado Libre metió dinero, eBay, perdón, metió dinero en Mercado
Pero no
Libre,
hubo transición de tecnología.
no sabía si habían influido en...
No sé cómo pasó.
No, pero la idea vino de Mercado Libre, no vino de eBay, eso es lo interesante.
Sí, yo estoy bastante seguro de
Ujú.
Mercado Libre, sí. So the second point that I want to make that's different. So the first one is end users, ¿verdad? The MathML example. The second is open source. It plays a much bigger role now with the advent of Linux and some of these other things in standards than it did before. OpenStack is a great example. So OSLC
Ajá.
and linked data,
Ok.
we announced at this conference open source code that people can use to integrate their own tools using these standards. It makes it easier, and it's part of Eclipse. That's very important. That's very important for your readers to understand that it's not just the standard behind this, but also the code that they can use to integrate, which makes things a lot faster, right? Developers like code to start with and go do stuff. So that's the integrate. Now, on collaborate, we have a question?
No.
Okay.
Take it.
On collaborate, it's very, a lot is happening there as well. So, nosotros aquí, we spend a lot of time in email, right? Into inbox. I bet you two, no porque son jóvenes, pero spend more time in Facebook or in Twitter or in esta idea de activity stream, ¿verdad?
At the same time.
At the same time que email, pero
De todas maneras me siento ofendido.
Yo también porque
pero dame explicar.
yo también uso Facebook.
Bueno, sí, pero
Oye, es que no
nosotros
mames,
somos
no.
gente de tecnología y
No,
nosotros
no
somos de
mames,
todo,
es
pero the point is that la mentalidad como uno trabaja está cambiando.
Claro.
Okay? Email no es el mundo central, o sea, para muchas personas. Cogen the tasks that they need to do, the idea de una activity stream.
Well, Google, when it launched, wait, do you want me to speak in Spanish or in English?
Either way, it's fine.
Bueno, cuando Google lanzó, digamos, Wave, también era una manera de reinventar esta cuestión del email, no tanto de
Exactamente.
manera tradicional, sino también meter otras actividades
Otras
que tienen más
actividades.
que ver tal vez con, no voy a decir la gente más joven, sino más bien
Claro.
otra manera de interactuar. Otra manera de
Los adultos
interactuar.
contemporáneos.
Adultos contemporáneos. Muy bien. Contemporary adults.
Es un chiste.
Instead of saying young people.
Yeah.
Contemporary
So-
adults. Yes. Pero eso, esa influencia está cambiando software development. Okay? Por ejemplo, si uno está haciendo DevOps, ¿han escuchado de DevOps? Y algo pasa en el data center, el notification tiene que ir, por ejemplo, a un activity stream. Si Google Plus o Facebook o Lotus Connections o lo que sea. You have to have the ability to do that. Y si tú eres un manager de DevOps, tú tienes esa notification que hay algo que está pasando. You want to address the problem right inside the activity stream. You don't want to have to go to another application, for example, because your world is this activity stream, because that's how you're used to interacting. So there are standards that allow this to happen. And we call these social business standards. So you can see some great demonstrations of DevOps that use linked data and OSLC and these social business standards in the PED areas, in the cloud zone, that show you people getting events inside their Facebook streams or their Lotus Connection streams and interacting with the tools inside the social media that they prefer. And that is a very important change for the collaborative aspects of development, because you don't want to impose different methodologies, onto people. You want people to work in whatever they feel comfortable. If it's email, it's email. If it's something else, it's something else. So that is another important announcement that we had here at the conference.
Son tres, está collaborate,
Integration.
integration,
And optimize.
and optimize.
Optimize.
Y en la optimización, que es tal vez una de las partes más críticas y esotéricas de este proceso.
Yeah. The optimize means different things to different people. Okay? Si tú eres un gerente if you're a manager, es gerente, ¿no?
Sí.
Practica.
Si eres un gerente de developers,
Desarrollador.
optimize para ti is, deliver the code on time, have visibility, have metrics, improve your delivery time, increase your function, reduce the defects when you release a product, etc. Those are the kinds of things that you do as a manager of software, right, or person who writes software. In that area, there are some really interesting standards occurring around metrics, business metrics for software development. There's a lot of dialogue of that occurring within a group called the OMG, so there's people talking about that. Optimize also means, if you're a developer, optimize might mean something else. Optimize might mean how efficient is your code, right? How fast is your code? How scalable is your code? Is your code fail-safe? If it fails, can it transfer over? Things like that. And within that area, a lot of the Java and J2EE standards that we continue to work on have been very important for Optimize. So Optimize depends on who it is you're talking about.
Estaba pensando también en otras variables que buscan el error cero, como Six Sigma en la manera de trabajar, cruzada con CMMI, por ejemplo, en los niveles de prueba,
Eso más para el gerente, ¿no?
Son las mejores prácticas, ¿no?
Sí.
But that's very good. That's a very good insight, because development is a business process. It's a process. It's part of the business.
Part of the business, sí.
And techniques like Lean Six Sigma and all this for optimizing your business processes have been applied and should be applied to how you run development. Just like any other business process, like insurance or whatever, underwriting, pick your favorite business process.
Sure.
And so you're right, people do that, and that's an important part of Optimize. So
Well, I was thinking that, Latin American people is Six Sigma immune.
what do you mean?
I mean, it's very hard
They
for
don't
them
care?
to implement, to
Oh, I
use
see.
Six Sigma standards, Six Sigma way of work, whatever.
¿Por qué? Es fuerte.
Porque es muy
Duro,
denso,
denso.
precisión, revisión, seguridad, proceso.
I don't know. I don't know if you can generalize.
Yeah,
that way.
I just generalize.
I think the what I have noticed is that certain industries are more amenable to or more comfortable with those type of techniques for business processes because of regulation, because they have to, right? Or because of competition. They need to cut and they need to focus, their resources.
What industries? Can you say?
Finance, for example, is a great example of where business processes and the optimization of business processes are critical. Healthcare
Healthcare.
Of
is
course.
extremely, if you mess up, someone dies. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
And-
One, a lot of people too.
Yeah, the
Exacto.
business processes in the hospitals are very, very well maintained and well understood, well documented, and well automated nowadays. You know, the error rates for medicines, for example, is way down.
In the
Somos
US,
hijos del rigor.
¿Ah?
Dinero y salud. Somos hijos del rigor, digo.
Money and health.
Si hay mucho.
Money helps. Too much?
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
But, a lo que quiero ir es que como